justification. We asked 4 Charlottesville ministers to examine that need in relation to Vietnam. Dr. Bess Taberchi of the First Presbyterian Church and Mr. Charles Perry of St. Paul's Episcopal, Mr. Cowan Ellis of the First Baptist Church, and from Westminster Presbyterian, Mr. Bob Albritton.
I'm particularly concerned about what it's doing to the American character. What I observe is a growing indifference to suffering, a growing indifference to brutality, to killing. I observe in my own children, for example, that they cannot tell the difference between a fictional show like The Uncle Show and the evening news coverage of the Vietnamese War. There's a difficulty in distinguishing what is real and what is fictional in terms of suffering, and it seems to be that suffering is becoming something that we are accepting and not raising any real questions about.
But now the thing about brutality you bring up. Why is it that you're concerned about brutality and the effect of it to our population in this war? And I never heard that topic either in the Korean or World War II. Is it suddenly this war which makes us makes us accept brutality with greater ease? Or is it not the total climate of our society, with all the violence on TV, long and in other media, long before this war started? Is there not a general trend toward brutality?
Wouldn't you make a distinction between World War II and this one?
I do not. I know you do.
It was a multilateral thing. Despite the fact that the UN command was under our command, we did have the sanction of the United Nations in the Korean conflict, and we were part of an allied effort in
and what are we today in South Vietnam?
It's a unilateral effort.
And yes, you didn't see
because
things
it was a United Nations effort.
Well, there's one other factor here that I see coming out of this. Are we waiting for the United Nations decision to determine whether or not it's moral or whether or not it's immoral? If the United Nations favors the war, then would you say that it's a moral war? If all these other nations endorse it, does that make it moral? To what do we refer at this point to determine whether or not it's moral or immoral? Out of all wars, there grows the immoral aspect. There is the immoral situation of killing where you have no alternative. And I see no difference where this war is concerned and where other wars are concerned. War is immoral. I believe that, and in that sense of the word, I'm vigorously opposed to war. But I think the opposition that we find many times that is presented on moral grounds is perhaps in some cases a disguise for the overriding fear that people have of being involved in the war. We didn't see this during the other wars, and I see no difference where that is concerned and this war.
Surely we are all fully agreed that war is a terrible thing, and in this sense we are all pacifists. We are all for peace.
I am not sure that the Christian church in America could be characterized that way, as being basically pacifist and being all for peace.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it.
I think we're quite nationalist in that we tend to, the Protestant churches in America tend to get pulled in, especially my church, the Episcopal Church, to pulled in and saying, you know, whatever our country does as a nation must be right and we must back it. Now, this war seems to be an exception, and I'm grateful